out, who are the two types of people, or what are the two types of people never ever to get advice from, especially if you're working on your self confidence and working on rebuilding yourself? You are entering a very sensitive and vulnerable part of your life. And it's probably one of the most important parts of your life. It's the most important phase of your life to go through because you are on the period, on the era of rediscovering yourself and redefining yourself. I emphasize the importance of this because in this time, there's going to be a lot of pieces that you have to figure out. Um, Learning to become more self reliant, learning to um, get familiar with using your voice, understanding what it means to have your self authority. And so there are going to be people who enjoy giving you advice. There are going to be a lot of people who give you advice along the path of your life. There are going to be people who are really good at giving advice, and there are going to be people who are not very good at that. And I just want to emphasize in this video, there are just two types of people to never, ever, ever receive, welcome, ask for, solicit advice from. And it's very important that you remember this and do not break these rules. The first type of people are the people who took away your confidence. These are the people who made you feel small. These are the people who made you feel like you doubted yourself in the first place, who made you feel like you don't really have a place in the relationship. You're not really allowed to speak up. You're not really allowed to ask questions. The questions you ask are silly. It makes you feel like, whenever you're in their presence, it makes you feel small, makes you feel uncomfortable. You don't really know what to do with yourself. You feel like you want to hide. Those type of people, never take advice from them because their very presence makes you feel intimidated. It makes you feel small. It makes you feel like you don't really belong. It's very important that you don't ask for advice from this type of people because the reason you feel the way you feel right now, the reason why you don't really feel confident in yourself and you really believe in yourself is because these people took it away from you in the first place. Whether if it was intentional or not doesn't really matter, but most important thing is they were the ones who made you doubt yourself in the first place. They were the ones who made you feel like my voice doesn't really matter. And if I did speak out, no one's going to hear me. And it's probably going to be silly if I even tried. I'm not really worth other people's time. Those are the people who you should never take advice from. Okay. Those are the people who you should never like get confidence advice from and receive even, or get into a discussion with them about how to become more confident or how to navigate like social situations because you grew up in that very environment that took away your self-confidence. The second type of people to not receive advice from around self confidence is actually the type of people who are already very confident, who grew up confident, who they don't really have the experience of what it feels like to not believe in themselves. And for them, confidence comes to them very naturally. So whether if this is, someone at your office, at your job, at your boss, maybe your auntie, your uncle, a friend, someone online who have always been super confident, or an acquaintance. And if you ask them what it's like to be confident, you ask them for tips, you ask them for advice, it's very likely that they won't really know what to address, and they won't really know how to pinpoint your fears and your insecurities because they don't have these insecurities themselves. They haven't gone through these fears. They don't know where you are struggling. They don't know what it's like to grow up not being heard. And a lot of times, the advice that come from people who are already very confident a lot of times it's like, I mean, for me, it often feels like very useless advice. No offense, because they'll always say things like, "Oh, just make eye contact," or "just breathe slower," or "just allow yourself to take a deep breath," or you know, think of your main points, think of what you want to say, um, you know, try to speak up more. And oftentimes they don't realize that the problem is not actually your behavior. It never was the behavior in the first place. A lot of times the blockages are mental, emotional blockages. The it's a belief that we carry about ourselves. It's how we see ourselves in a social situation. And it's the ability to be in a social situation and be able to take up space and be able to take up other people's time. And if we do not allow ourselves to work through some of these blocks and dive deep into these things that we fear the most, following some of these like very superficial advice from people who have never gone through self doubt and not being confident in front of others before, it's going to feel like what is wrong with me? I feel like there's something wrong with me because I can't figure out why these people can hold eye contact, why these people can hold a normal conversation when I am stuttering and I'm struggling to maintain eye contact and think of what question to ask next and how to navigate the situation. It's going to feel like there's something wrong with me. But I'm here to reassure you that there is nothing wrong with you. It's just that in this process that you are going through, it's a very delicate time and you're going through a very vulnerable time. And it's very important that you understand and you guard and protect your heart as much as possible, as much as you can, to only lean on the resources that is going to lift you up emotionally, spiritually, energetically. And it's very important that you learn to start relying on your inner gut feeling to get this feedback of, okay, what advice feels good for me? Whose advice feels empowering for me? And when you start to experiment with, okay, like who do I like listening to? Who do I like associating myself to? Where do I like to get advice from? What advice works for me? Because it's like, let's be honest, it's not one size fits all. Once you start practicing this inner mechanism and this feedback, you're going to realize that there's actually a lot of people in your life that try to shove advice down your throat. That is not tasteful. That is not digestible. That does not feel good for you. And once you start making that distinction between what is for me and what is advice that I could just leave aside and say thank you very much, but I have my own way. That is when you are really going to um, see a lot of results in improving your own confidence. And I just want to continue to encourage you to continue listening to yourself, finding what works for you, continue to experiment, listen to yourself in this process, and you are going to be well on your way. Thank you so much for coming on this live video of mine. Let's see what else. Oh, it's really nice to see you guys here. If you guys have any questions, please drop them in the comments and I'll be here to answer them. All right. Have a good night. See ya.